Hey everyone, it's Gina. I am back with a finished jewelry update video. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, so it's really good to be back and have a month's worth of goodies to share with you guys, kind of recapping and summarizing the things that I came out with this month based on some of the materials that I shared in various unboxings, particularly the Eureka collections that I love so much, and also the bargain bead box this time around. And as usual, down below the video in the description section, I will link to the various subscriptions and boxes and materials that I am mentioning. And I will also try to link to the specific tutorials for the projects that you're seeing on your screen in this video as well. So first I want to bring you the Spellbound collection, this set that I created from Eureka's Plot Twist collection that they came out with earlier this month that I shared. And it had so many gorgeous neutral tones in it, something a little different, not as bright and splashy, but it had its own natural elegance and really inspired me with those browns and caramels and creams and things that you can see in this set. First of all, I have the pendant that I turn into a pendant necklace just using some chain. But we started out the month with some square stitch bezeling. In particular, the 16mm, which is this larger round here in the center. And I showed you in a video specifically just how to do some square stitching using some size 11.0 and 15.0 Miyuki brand seed beads. So this pendant is to show you kind of how you can take something like that and use it as a springboard, use that as a basis or foundation for a totally different design, put different size crystals together, and voila, you have something like this that is brand new and you can customize and use in all sorts of different ways. I also want to mention, I just heard from Eureka that they added several new colors of their 16mm crystals in their shop, which is great news. They are part of the Krakowski crystal line that they carry. So if you wanted to make the Spellbound collection in a totally different colorway, you can do that. They've got so many different colors of all these different types of materials on their site, and now they've got even more crystals to coordinate. So of course that's the 16 inside, and then the two 8mm size crystal chatons on either side of that. This design also includes pinch beads, various other sizes of seed beads. There's a look at the back. I know I still haven't finished that one quite like I did that one, but that's how it goes sometimes. Anyway, I also created the bracelet and earrings, which actually kind of use components, well, the same types of components that you see here. The smaller ones were actually used in the earring design, and the large one here is actually used in the bracelet design. So that's a pretty cool thing. I really like customizable pieces like that, and again, it just gives you another example of how you can transform these shapes into different designs all on their own. So that's the pendant necklace, which, by the way, I've started listing all these items you're going to see today, I should say most, in my shop. So if you go to orchidandopal.com, which is also linked below, and you'd like to purchase anything you see here that I've personally made, go there and you can check out what is available. I do have quite a few other things that are not listed, but as I am getting some of these new items going again, I will be listing more. So here are the earrings, the Plot Twist collection, again called Spellbound. I just liked it. They had a book in the theme picture this month. It was really cute. And Spellbound was just something that came to me as I was creating these pieces and seemed to really fit along with that general idea and vibe. So here are the earrings, again using the square stitch bezeling technique and the 8mm stones. So cute, right? And as we were talking about different colors, I wanted to show you And some of you may have already seen these, but here are the green pair that I made in this different shade or colorway. And I do believe these are the green or olive satin variety of pinch beads that you'll see here. And they are the green Sphinx Krakowski crystals, which are beautiful. So it just shows you how you can take different colors and plug those into the same design and get a totally different result. I love being able to do that when I bring you guys different designs, because it just can change the overall look of things. And there's so many, not only colors, but finishes with a lot of these beads. So you can really go on a fun adventure with all the different options. So here's a close-up look too at the Spellbound bracelet with that star of the show in the center, the 16mm crystal Rivoli with the square stitch bezel and the pinch beads surrounding it. I also brought you guys a tutorial for the MiniDuo butterfly bracelets, which is basically what you see in this band. So if you just wanted to do something a little less complicated, more methodical, better for maybe newer bead weaving people out there, check out that tutorial. And I will share with you the 4 bracelets I have from that video as well in just a moment. But you can make a whole bracelet just out of that design alone. And it's a lot of fun to kind of zone out sometimes when you have something that is repetitive like that to create. But I wanted to use a few more of the pinch beads to break up the band just as another detail or element to add some interest to this. And then the idea behind that round crystal in the center, it kind of reminds me of a watch band with a watch in the center. Very nice statement piece, and feels great too. Anytime you have these slinky beaded fabric like pieces, they're really comfortable to wear. And just like I had the green example in the earrings, I have a green example in the bracelet. So here again is what I believe is the olive satin. I was pulling items from my own personal stash to come up with this other color variation. And I had lots of these green tone beads in the MiniDuos and the pinch beads. And I thought they also looked so beautiful with that crystal in the center. Frame that and set it off very nicely. So you can look for those Spellbound tutorials further back in my channel. And again, I do have these pieces listed for sale. I actually have 2 of the bracelets and I have 2 sets of necklaces and earrings, and I promise you I will finish that little bit on the back if you do order that. And I believe I have the green earrings and bracelet listed as well. All right, so next up are those MiniDuo butterfly bracelets that I was showing you that came from that band design. And something I wanted to mention separately in the beginning of the video, but I forgot, of course, is that I have some pieces at the very end I want to show you from the bargain bead box. So this is not all going to be bead weaving. It's going to also be some of the bargain bead box pieces, one of which is a necklace you haven't seen. So be sure to stay tuned to the end of this video. Anyway, I've got the 4 different bracelets created in that stitch technique using different colors, again, from my stash, and also some magnetic clasps and some of those slide end components. We had a set of those come in the Plot Twist collection this month, and it's really a great way to finish off something like that seamlessly, because those 15 O's at the end, they fit right in there so nicely. And then on these, I tried to add a coordinating little charm. We get so many various charms and findings over time. And I love going through my personal collection of those as I'm finishing up a bracelet, just to add next to the clasp sometimes, just that extra detail. It's just nice to do. So here are those 4 examples. Again, they're slinky. It's a more methodical design and one of those that works up fairly quickly. Also showing you an example of how you can change up the colors and how you place them in order to get a different look overall versus just doing a solid band like this. Before I move on from the plot twist collection, this was a fun experiment for me and actually came from, I got the instruction from one of the creative beading books, one of the older books that I have on hand, and I will try to add that information to the description section, the particular volume that it was and the page and the designer, but essentially it's the St. Petersburg stitch. And in the collection, they came out with a fun mix of Delica beads, and it inspired me to make something that looked kind of blanket-like. So this chevron type pattern called St. Petersburg stitch, done in multiple rows and with some 8-ohs along the sides, adding a little fringy element, made for this cozy little bead woven seed bead bracelet, as you can see. And I added a couple of the pearls there on one end, planning to add a little charm off of that section there. And they fit into the bead woven loops on the other side to close that off. So I don't have a particular tutorial for the St. Petersburg stitch at the moment, but there are some tutorials out there if you search on YouTube, and maybe it'll be something I bring you in the future. We'll just have to see. So that's another fun one. Before we move on to Eureka's mid-month light collection, which is called Treasures of Time. So in that collection, I did bring you a tutorial for the bracelet that you see below. It is one that started out with the 2-hole check glass wide duo beads running down the center. And I also incorporated the seed bead mix. There were different shapes and colors included, and this was a great way to showcase some of those, especially surrounding the wide duos. And then we've got some of the antique brownish Picasso Druck beads running up and down the sides. I also really liked how the bugle beads frame out the wide duos, so it was fun to use the 3mm bugles and see how well that worked. I think if I had more time, I'd even come up with more offshoots, just starting with the wide duos and the bugles themselves, because they seem to frame out those beads really perfectly. So that was a fun and unexpected design that came together pretty quickly for me. That doesn't always happen. It may seem like it does, but that one just, it all started to fall into place. I loved it. But that's why I love the Eureka collection so much. They inspire me to just get in there and play around, move things around, take things apart, and try out various techniques. And that's another reason I love beads. If you don't like something, you can take it apart and a lot of times reuse them. You can't do that with painting. Nothing against painting. Just saying. This is another design that I made using the Treasures of Time collection materials. I hadn't shared this with you guys because I don't plan to do a tutorial. I don't have the time. But I wanted to show you this anyway, just because I think it's fun to see what we all do with the same kinds of materials and what's possible. But they had included one of those large antique brass hammered rings. I used that as the foundation. And what this can be is, of course, like a brooch, some type of pin, or even a pendant. I think it would look beautiful on a beaded pendant. And I used, of course, a lot of the seed beads that came in the mix in this as well, and the 13mm glass domed, very beautiful amber-like cabochon in there. So I actually started by bezeling around the cabochon using peyote stitch, and I built out from there and kind of started to incorporate larger sizes as I went out. And eventually I made this about the size of that brass ring. And that's where I just started attaching the outside of the beadwork to the ring. And it's kind of domed. It's really interesting. You can actually set it in a couple different ways. So that was more of an experimental piece. And I just wanted to show you what else I was up to with that inspiring collection, which happens to go so well with the lighter neutral plot twist collection. It's really cool how both of those collections played off each other and coordinated so well. So that is it for my Eureka adventures. And I'm going to show you the bargain bead box pieces with, of course, you probably just saw this, the Mahogany Obsidian piece that I did on Filigree. I just shared a creative time video, which was a lot of fun. It's a more relaxed format where I can hang out with you and bead something in real time. And you can see how I make it. We have a little bead-related chat. You can join me as I'm creating. And we made one of these together using the flat wavy round, some 8/0 seed beads, the 4mm coordinating mahogany obsidian beads, all on that 48mm brass filigree component that came in the bargain bead box this month. So that is the main thing I had to share. This is another color variation that I did, again, using some seed beads from my stash. Everything else came from that subscription package. And they do have additional materials on their sister site in their shop if you wanted to make one of those as well. And all of the materials for each of these pieces I have listed down below each video and linked as well. So this could easily be turned into a pin just by sewing on a pin finding to the back, especially since it has so many openings, or using a little tiny bit of glue for the pin finding. And it would also make for a beautiful pendant. The other piece that I made is this one, which I hadn't shared yet. I was itching to play around with those glass floral beads because to me they're just an extra challenging shape, and I mean the flat disc-like flowers in particular, but I like a challenge. It's fun to try to use something like that in a different format, and I really like how these came out. I also used some of the coordinating little bell flower beads that hang down. And this was one where I changed up the structure a bit as I went because I was really focused on how this would hang, you know, when you actually wear it. That's obviously very important with a necklace, especially when you have components like this. And I'll show you the back of it and how I put these components together in just a moment. But you can see how nicely this hangs, and that isn't a coincidence. So I had to finagle that a little bit, but you can see I did use the chain as well. That's the Figaro chain that came in the subscription package. And I did pull out a few beads from that little glass bead mix in different colors. Just a fun, whimsical element that I attached using some coordinating jump rings in between the blue flowers to add a little bit of extra color and also coordinate with some of those beads that I layered on the flat flowers. So here's a look at the back of the piece, and you can see how I used different lengths of chain that I ended up taking apart. These had the links that you could take pliers and open up and separate out. So I took advantage of that and utilized some smaller segments in between that top section of longer length of chain and a shorter segment there that runs along the bottom of this row of floral components, and just kind of connected that all together in such a way where everything would stay mainly how I had tried to place it, with the beads facing the front, the flowers in particular, each of those, so they weren't flipping all over the place as they were worn. So I really like how the structure of that works, and I've moved it around quite a bit, and for the most part it stays like it is. So it came out really nice, and I don't have a tutorial for this, but hopefully this helps you to see sort of how I was able to put this together. You can always pause the video and take a closer look at each of these components as I have them placed on this chain, and maybe that will help you. And of course, just wire wrap the smaller blue flowers underneath. And to show you the floral component all together, first I made each of these separately, and sort of like we did in the Creative Time video in its own way, I combined the filigree links back here with the blue floral components. So first I tacked down the blue flowers, one on the center of one of these components, just using some of those open areas back there and some Fireline beading thread in black. And I passed back and forth through them several times, and I layered one of the little daisy spacers on top of the whole, as well as one of the little glass beads from the mix. And below that, just added that piece that dangles down, and in between all these segments just periodically added some more of those little colorful round beads. And also, to wrap it up before I end the video, I just wanted to bring in the set that I made from the August bargain bead box to show you this one. It is available for sale in my shop. If you did have an interest in purchasing that, you can check that out. And there are coordinating earrings for that as well. These I did share in the first two Creative Time videos, so you may have seen them there. Here is that pair of earrings. These were a brighter theme for August. I think it was called Bohemian Nights, with the addition of the golden components and the little moons. So that is listed, and the addition of the other bracelet that I shared in the second Creative Time video, again using materials from that August bargain bead box selection. So since they hadn't made it in a finished jewelry update and I had those still out and around, I wanted to bring those in to show you these fun pieces in case you hadn't seen those up close. All right, you guys, we did it. We made it through the whole month of September, and I'm just so glad to be back doing more of these videos with you guys again. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, and it was just really nice to look back on the month and see the bigger picture as we look at this bead mat full of new creations. And I hope something here helped to inspire you, especially if you picked up some of the same materials in a box that I shared from the month. And I just want to let you know that everybody here who has shown their support your continued enthusiasm and viewership, all your comments, every way, even the small ways that you show your support, they've meant so much to me as I've been on a little bit of my own personal journey recently. And I'm not going to open up here about all that right now, but maybe one day over time, or when I'm ready, I'll open up more about what I've been facing challenge-wise with you guys, because I think it's important that we're all real about the fact that we're all dealing with things in certain ways, and we all deal with things differently. So just know that, you know, even the small things that you do to show your support, they've meant a lot to me, and it's just good to be back. And you guys inspire me in many ways that you may never know. So I just want to continue this journey with you in our creating and making and sharing. And I hope to continue on. My renewed focus here is going to be just continuing to cultivate a kind, welcoming, warm, encouraging, creative beading environment. I want this to be a space where we can share ideas together, inspire each other, and just not take things so seriously. So let's just continue on, keep making. Please keep commenting down below, keep sharing your thoughts, ideas, because I think it is wonderful when that space can be used as a way to share ideas with others about materials and just the different ways that people think about using certain things. And there's lots of ways that you comment and share with me, you know, things I wouldn't think of too. So let's keep doing that, keep exploring our creativity, and have fun together along the way. That's what I'm trying to get at. Let's have more fun, creative, supportive, inspiring time together. And thank you for helping to make this place happen and keeping me on this journey with you guys, because it's never ending and it should be fun along the way as well. So once again, I have all the links to these various boxes and materials listed down below. I look forward to the month of October and what that brings, and we shall see. I hope you'll stick around with me. And thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please continue to share your creations that you've made from my tutorials on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, and tag me because I love checking them out, and especially sharing other color variations that you've come up with other viewers there too. So keep up the great work. Let's have fun. Don't forget to subscribe while you're here, please, if you haven't already, because I'd love to see you back. And until next time, I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.